Hello everyone, welcome to my channel TA Basics QA. My name is Sushil. Today we are going to discuss about classes and object in Python programming language. So Python is object-oriented programming language and everything in the Python is object. I will show you how to create a class and object in the Python. I am using PyCharm and I have already created the project. If you want to know more about PyCharm and how to create a project in a PyCharm, I have already created the video. The link is above there. So let's create a class. To create a class, we need to have the Python file first. So let's create the Python file. Right click on the project, click on new Python file, then type the name of the file. I will give person. I don't have to mention .py extension. Now if you see person.py file is created. This py is nothing but the Python file. To create a class, we need to use a class keyword, class, and the name of the class is person. Okay, so let's discuss about class and object. So we know that class is just a template or a design, or you can call it as a blueprint for the object. So when the object of the class gets created, then the class will have its meaningful value. So let me give you a real life example like a person. So person will have certain properties and behavior because it's an object, it's a real life object. So what are the properties of person? Person height, name, age, gender, mobile number, address, etc. etc. And what are the behaviors? The person can think, the person can walk, person can sing, dance, etc. So these are just examples. Suppose let's take another example like you wanted to build a house. Then before building the house, you always have a blueprint of the house ready with you. And then you give this blueprint to the engineer and engineer will look at these blueprints and construct the house according to it. So inside the class, we are going to have a properties and then behaviors. So how can we represent the properties in a class? Let's call it as a variable or data members. So let me create a simple method in the class. To create a method, we need to use a def keyword in the Python. And I'm going to create a init method. PyCharm is already suggesting me the init method. So I'll just use the same method. I will explain you about the init methods. Now I'm going to print message here like person class is initiated. As we already discussed, the object will have its own properties. So definitely they will have their own values. And as part of class, we need to represent them using a data members or variable. Using init method, I'm going to have certain properties for my objects. So I'm going to define a variables for person like name, age, gender. So I have just declared them now. So how are we going to store the value for particular variable? To do that, we need to have certain assignment like this self.name is equals to name, self.age is equals to age, and self.gender is equals to gender. So now if you look at this method, init is a special method in the Python programming, and this is the standard method. This method is called as initialization method. So when the object of this person class gets created, then internally init method gets called. Init method is also acts as a constructor. So now you might be wondering about what is this self. So self is again a keyword in the Python. The self keyword refers to the current object of the class. Self plays very important role when you create the object. The self helps you to keep a track of values for certain properties of that object. So let's say you have object for 10 persons, then how you are going to differentiate the values for each property respect to that particular object. So self is going to help you with that. Let me add some behavior for the person object. Behavior is nothing but I'm going to add a method in the class. So the class will have a variables and the methods. So let me create another method def walk print. Person is walking. I'm going to add another method that is think. Whenever I create a method, then PyCharm is going to add the self keyword as part of this method because so self is the mandatory parameter for all the methods in the Python. So let me print another message. Person is thinking. Let's add another method like my information. I'm going to print the information of the person. Name, how we are going to access the name for that particular object using a self keyword self.name. Then age, self.age, then gender, self.gender. Okay, so our design is ready. So the class has, so now we have created the plain class here, which has the properties and behavior, and we are representing them using the data members and the methods. Without creating object, this class will be meaningless. There is no value for this class. Now let's create the object. So to create an object, I'm defining a variable that is p1 person. We don't use a new keyword here when we create the object. And now if you observe, PyCharm has given a pop-up on top of this method, and it is asking you to give me the name, age and gender. So you might be wondering, we already know that when we create the object of the class, the init method gets called, and init method has 4 different parameters. But when we create object, it's just asking for 3 arguments. Why? Because the self argument is implicitly passed by the Python itself. So self is nothing but the object of the same class. So if you look at this pop-up, it already has the object of the person. Now it is asking for name. So I'm going to pass the name as a Sushil and age 30 and the gender is male. Okay, now let's run the program. Output of the program is person class is initiated, because when this line statement gets executed, then this init method get called. What happens first? The initializations happens here, and then this person class initiated message is printed. So now let's call the method of this class. So how we are going to do that? p1.walk, p1.think. Let's call, now I want to print the information for that person. So I will call p1.myInformation. Let's run the program. So p1.walk function is printed the message person is walking. When p1.think gets called, it prints the message person is thinking. When myInformation method gets called, then it has printed the information for the person, that is name is Sushil, age 30 and gender male. Now let's create another object. p2 is equals to person, and just provide the name of the person like Nakul, age 31, gender male. For this object, I am just simply printing the information of this person, p2.myInformation. Now let me create another object, that is p3 person, passing the Nidhi, age is 3 months and gender is female, and p3 dot, I'm going to print the information for this third object, that is p3 dot my information. Okay, now let's run the program. As part of the output, we can see the information is printed here. So now we have created the 3 different objects. Also, I just want to tell you, in the Python we don't use semicolon because semicolon is replaced by the white space. The indentation refers to the spaces at the beginning of the code line. You can see the spaces behind this def and the spaces behind this print statement. And if you're going to disturb this, then PyCharm is going to show you the errors. So see, the file is showing me the error. This print statement should be part of this definition. The indentation in Python is very important. Python uses indentation to indicate a block of code. If indentation is not correct, then you will get an error while running the Python program. Thank you so much. That's it for this video. See you in the next video. So if you enjoyed watching this video and found this tutorial helpful, then please like it, subscribe my channel and share it with your friends. That's it guys. See you in my next video tutorial. Till then, bye bye.